Hi, this is Lori with Time to Be Creative. I'm hoping this will be our last tutorial video on the wedding album. I finished up the last few pages. We have our cover put together, and now I'm going to put the inside into the cover and hopefully embellish the cover, and that will be this video. But the few things that we didn't wrap up last time, I had some issues with a couple of the pages. And one of them was this page, if you'll recall. I wanted to make a latching system. So what I did was I just finally got my little flower there to stick well. I put, it wasn't a button, it was just a flat embellishment. And on the back of that I put an eyelet to raise that up a little bit. I tucked my ribbon underneath my little medallion there, and now I can just twist this around to hold that waterfall down, and then I just put some pearls on the end of that ribbon. So that finishes that page. And I think the other thing we were working on, oh yes, I finished these tags, just very simple. And I just put a brad in the back of that tag. I might come back in and put a sticker or some kind of a little decorative piece on the back of that. I'm not liking the way that brad is there. But just something really simple. Put a little sticker, beautiful, handsome, on there. And then this last page, I colored in with my chalk on my patterned paper. I added those wedding rings and then finished off the tags for the belly bands inside. Whoops, the wrong way. Got a little magnet closure there on the bottom. Okay, so that's ready to pop into our cover. Now what I need to think about cover-wise is the closure for my book. And I'm just going to do something simple, but I want to do that before I cover the inside of the book. And so I think what I want to do is I have my white ribbon. I made 3 loops, individual pieces of ribbon, and I just attached that with hot glue. I made the center loop a little larger. Kind of working backwards here. So I think I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to attach this pearl like that. And then I'm going to use I used my 1-inch punch and punched out coordinating paper to the cover. And I'm going to put my magnet, I'm going to sandwich my magnet in between there and have that behind these loops. Like that. Oops! Slippery. And then I'm going to put my magnet on the inside of this cover. I want that in quite a bit because I want my paper to be able to cover that magnet on the inside. And the magnets I'm using aren't super thin because I want them to go through, I need them to be fairly strong to go through the chipboard. And so then I have to attach these loose strands into the back cover. It's a little nerve-wracking. But I am going to ink these little 1-inch circles. So I'm going to do that first. And if I don't like the way that looks, then I can recut those. But that'll work with the rest of the book. Now, when we did the cover, the one thing that I mentioned is the paper was not wide enough and long enough for the book. And so I had to piece the paper together. And so I have 2 seams. I have this seam here, which will be easy to cover when I decorate the front of the book. And then I have this seam across the back. And what I'm going to do to take care of that is I'm just going to take a piece of white satin ribbon and I'm going to glue that. So I want to do that now because I want to tuck those ends in my inside cover. So I want to make sure I have enough ribbon to tuck in. So I'm going to cut that there. And I'm just going to take my zip dry glue, if I can get it to cooperate. Now you could really use anything you like, anything that works with the theme of your book. If you're doing a lot of lace, you might want to put a piece of lace back here. That's probably way too much glue. And then I'm going to do the same thing here as it comes into the book. I'm going to take that right in onto my chipboard. Give that a few minutes to sit and dry a little bit. And again on the opposite side. Take off that extra. So I think that looks nice. And I can come back in here as this dries a little bit and rub off that excess glue. So it's going to be the back of our book. Now because of the texture of the paper that I've been using, I think I probably would get a good stick when I put my book in the binding. But I just want to make sure. So I decided to go with some of my white cardstock. This is the 110 cardstock, and I'm just going to cover that back spine area. I have my inside pieces already trimmed out. And I'm going to have my pages, the inside of the cover, look like that, but I have to attach my magnet at this end and my ribbon at this end, at the other end for my closure. And then when I put my book in, you're really not going to see that spine. But I want it to adhere really well, so I'm going to use some of my red tape. When I first started to scrap, I had no idea what red tape was. And then I was in the craft store looking for some other items. You can probably hear my husband rummaging around in the kitchen. And there it was, red tape. And this really adheres well. So I'm going to use some of that. So I'm just going to score that along the edges. I'm really hoping that the closure that I decided to use for this book works. I think it'll look nice. But the ribbon doesn't really have any stretch to it. One book that I did recently, I used elastic pony band, and that worked really nicely. But I don't have any of that in white. Okay, so I'm going to give that red tape a good press. Now it's just the outside tape that's red. The tape itself is clear. So I'm going to go ahead and lift that up. Now when I measured my inside cover sheets, I measured it longer than the side of the book because I wanted to overlap and come into the spine. So whatever measurements you're working with, you may want to consider that. You can do it however you like. It just depends on how you want your book to look. So I'm just going to, I made this a little smaller than the spine. For me it was 2 7/8 by 5 1/2 because I didn't want to cover up my inside paper there. And like I said, this is going to overlap, so you're not going to see any of that chipboard when we're finished. Okay, so now I've marked here at the front side where I want my magnet for my closure. And I want to get that on. Just want to make sure that your magnet is facing the right way so it attaches to the other end. So I'm going to put mine down here. You don't want to come too close to the edge. I thought about there, but when I bring my paper in, then my paper's not going to glue down. It's got to come over that magnet. So I'm going to move this down so I have plenty of room to get that paper to come over the magnet. And I like to use the E6000 glue when I'm gluing down magnets or anything metal. So once again, you want to make sure you've got the right side. I should probably mark these. I don't know if I have anything handy to mark it with. You know what? I think I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on it. So this is the side I want to glue. Because believe me, I've done this before, where I get everything together and then realize the magnet won't stick because I glued down the wrong side. It happens. Okay. So I'm going to come in here with my E600 and I'm going to put a generous dot of glue there and get my magnet on so that can start to adhere. Alright, I'm going to put that aside for a minute. I'm running out of space. And then I'm going to come in and work on this. So what I want is for this magnet that's the part that's going to stick through the book, I believe, unless I did it. No, I think I might have done it backwards. Yeah. Alright, so you want to make sure you get the right size. See, I did it again. I'm a little dyslexic when it comes to that stuff. So I'll put a little more glue here. And then I want to glue my other disc of paper on top of there. Made like a little sandwich, little magnet sandwich. Now sometimes if I add too much paper, I can't get that to stick. Alright, so this is the side I need to decorate. So that's what I'm going to attach my ribbon to. And like I said, I have 3 pieces of ribbon that I made 3 loops. One loop I want larger than the other. And I want to cross them over like that. So I'm going to come in with my hot glue. I'm going to put my largest loop in first. And then I'm going to crisscross the other ones. Just going to keep adding just a little dot of glue. And that glue underneath on that magnet hasn't dried yet, so it's still just slipping around a little bit. I'm kind of pushing the envelope here. And another dot of glue. Kind of eyeball that to where you think it looks good. And then I want to put my big pearl on the top. And I want that to adhere really well, so I'm going to use my zip dry. And then I have the little end pieces of my loops, but you know, they kind of look cute there. I'm not gonna trim those out. My magnet is really walking. I want to push that back towards the middle. Now the other thing is getting the length correct. The book's fairly thick because I used a lot of thick embellishments. So I don't think I have to worry too much about the book getting a whole lot thicker, because there's plenty of room in there. I'm going to put this on the back of the pearl. I'm giving that a nice thick coverage of glue. You can use whatever embellishment you think will work well for your book. It may not be a pearl, it may be a rose, a crystal, or you may decide not to do this kind of closure. So the idea, and these are way long, is for me to glue down these 3 ribbons which will be covered by our inside paper. And then this will adhere to the magnet, like that. So I think I can trim that. And you know, that'll give me some extra room. I don't want it real tight. And I don't mind if that ribbon kind of bellows out a little bit. So I'm going to trim my ribbon about there. And then I'm going to mark where I want that glued down. And that looks like right about where that back ribbon comes in. I think that'll work. I can feel that glue starting to tighten up on that magnet, so we're making progress there. So I'm just going to lay this down. And then again, I'm going to use, I think I want to crisscross this a little bit. And I'm going to use my Zip Dry glue. I think what I'm going to do is just put a line of glue there. And then just lay my ribbon in it. That looks okay. Now if you wanted to, you really could put a piece of duct tape over top of that. I'm not sure that that's necessary. It might be a good idea though. But I don't have any white. I have a crazy green and a crazy blue, so I think I'm going to pass on that. Okay, so I have my magnet in. I have my ribbon in. So now what we need to do is to come in with I think that's going to be okay. We need to come in with the inside sheets of paper that we cut, that I cut. So I'm going to take my tape runner, get as close to the edge as I can with my tape. I'm going to run a couple of pieces down the center. And then if I see a place where I think I didn't get close enough to the edge and I want it a little closer, I'll just run another little piece there. And if I go over, I can rub that off after I get it down in the book. Or I just kind of curl it under, give some little extra glue. Now this is the tricky part. So make sure I have my ribbon the way I want it. And I'm just going to come in here as best as I can. Like I said earlier, I don't glue too well and talk at the same time, so I'm just going to eyeball that the best I can. And press it down. I'm going to use my bone folder. To give that a real good burnish and rub. You'll see little pieces of glue starting to come up. That's where I kind of went over the edge. See, it rubs off real easy. Which is really great. And then I did run some glue down the sides. So you just want to give all that a really good press. Now, I was thinking about putting some kind of decorations or pockets on these back covers, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to leave those plain. So I think there's one back page I need to still address with some kind of decoration. Now, the next thing you want to do is you need to start working that page because we have a crease here. So you just want to take your time and start giving that a chance to bend and stretch your paper. Now we need to come in and do the other end. So now I kind of lined that up with the top of my cardstock that I put down the spine. So I want to do that the same with the left-hand side as I apologize, I'm working upside down for you, I believe. So I'm going to try to get that in right there. So again, I'm going to use my tape gun. I really don't have enough light. It affects the camera, so I have my working light off. And I'm having a hard time seeing that edge, but it'll be fine. No worries. So again, I'm going to just look at my edges. Now with this paper, I'm not too concerned about which way the pattern's going. Depending on your project, you may have words or a specific pattern you want to match. So you need to be aware of that. But for this particular one, I'm okay. So I want to make sure I match that as well as I can, get that as straight as I can, coming into that spine. We've got our magnet under here. And then again, come in with your bone folder and really give that a good press. Remember, we put the strips of tape down the center sides, so you want to make sure you press all that down. And then again, I had some extra glue here, so I'll just take some time and rub that off. And you can see a little bit of a elevated area here where that magnet's underneath. But once your pages get in and you're looking at the book, I don't think anybody will notice that. And then again, like we did with the other end, you want to just start gently bending that paper so it learns which way you want it to go. You don't want that to tear on you, so you just want to gently start to work that. Just ease it down. Okay. And now we need to put in the book. Alright, so here's our insides. And on the back spine, we scored that at the beginning of the project. And so now we need to remove our score tape. And then we're going to drop this right in here. And then we'll burnish down the in between the pages. This is the nerve-wracking part. But I'm going to use my inside paper as my guide. I don't want to really mark it because the book is white and I won't be able to get in there and get the pencil marks out. So I'm just going to eyeball it. And so you want to come in and remove your tape. And make sure you have your book right side up. I've got some edges here. I'm just going to kind of push those in. Pardon my head. I think I got that a little closer to the front cover than the back cover, but that'll be okay. So then once you get it dropped in where you want it, you just come in between your pages with your bone folder and really give that a good press. Now I'm really glad I didn't put that extra piece in because I probably would tear that. So I have these little embellishments to put there. Trying to see where that magnet catches right there. Okay, now we're going to decorate. So what I've done to keep in the theme of the book is I went ahead and I made a bunch of paper flowers like we have on the inside of the book, and I'm going to use those to decorate the outside of the book because we have this seam because again our paper was not large enough. So now I'm going to cover that up with my flowers. And so I'm going to use my hot glue gun and I'm just going to kind of map it out I'll try to do this upside down, and then when I get it where I want it, turn it right side up so I can glue them down. Probably might do that off camera. So basically the idea is that I've made 2 different size flowers. I've made this small flower and then a large flower. I had some silk leaves that I took off of some silk flowers, or use them for another project. So I'm going to use those underneath my big flowers. But I'm just going to come all around here in a crescent type shape and fill in I made some little rosebud shapes. I did make some paper leaves, but I decided I'm not going to use the paper leaves. I think it's better if you use odd number things. Like I have 5 big flowers, but I'm either going to use 5 or I'm going to use 3. I might just use those 3. And then some of these flowers I'm going to put on these little foam dots. I don't know what you call them. I guess I should. I threw away the packaging. But I'll just put a little dot on the bottom of that. Just give that little flower a little bit of height. And some I left white, and some I tinted with my alcohol markers. And then I'll probably put something up here. I'm not sure. I have this, but I'm not sold on this. I don't have any gold in the book, and this has gold on it. Oh my goodness, I can't pick it up. With this ring. But I'm not sure I like that. So I'm going to hold off on that. But I do want to get some of these flowers on. And then you can, you know, start putting in some different leaves. Some of these larger flowers, I think I want to elevate at least one of those. And what I'm trying to concentrate on is covering that seam that we created. Now some of my leaves have sparkles on them, which I really like. So once you get it laid out, however you're decorating, once you get it laid out the way that you want, you can come in with your hot glue. And I have a few little pearls. I have some of these little, not sure if I'll use those. You can always add things. So I think I'm going to start gluing those down. I'm going to turn it around here. So first thing I want to do is add a leaf to the back of my large flower. And then just start hot gluing things in. However you like them. Oh, this one's the one I wanted to elevate. So maybe I'll give him a leaf. And this is sticky back here, but I don't always trust that, especially for a cover. So I'm just going to add a little hot glue to the back of that guy. Now these were, like I said, silk leaves that I just took off of a plant. And then I took off all that plastic stuff. But you know, you could really kind of fold that together. Glue that together to make it a little different. And then stick that down in between your flowers. Give it another little added dimension. Get that in there where you want. That looks much better that way. Sometimes you can't get your fingers in there. You can push it and zhuzh it any way you want. I'm going to use one of my silver ones. Right in there. Whoa. I got this glue gun because I really liked, I saw a couple of the girls online using a glue gun that had this thin nozzle, which is really great, especially when you want to direct your glue to go to a certain way. But the one I purchased, it leaks. So I kind of have a difficult time with that when I'm not paying attention. I'm dripping glue where I don't want it. This one I think I'm going to put 2 little dots on. I really raise this one up a little bit higher. Now I did a video on how to make these flowers. I learned how to make them, a gal by the name of Tamika, and then I did go over that in one of the tutorials for this wedding album as well. Put a leaf on the back of this large flower. You never know when you're going to use or need something. Sometimes I save too much. like an old flower, like use the flower or the plant of something else, and now I'm using the leaf part for this project. And it had varying sizes, which, is really nice. Because some work with the small flowers. And then others with the large. And you don't have to do this much embellishing on your front cover if you don't want either. I mean, you have that seam, but you could always put a piece of ribbon or a piece of lace and just do something very simple. Just depends on what kind of look you like. I have a little bud somewhere. I think what I want to do with this is, so this is what I did on my flower tutorial. I'm just going to poke a little hole through there, and I'm going to take a little piece of wire come through there. I'm going to just make a little hook or a little knot at the end and pull that down so the wire doesn't come through. I'm just going to put a little drop of glue at the bottom. Kind of hold that in place. And I can tuck that under. Put a little bit of glue on the bottom. And then you can slip that in where you want. Just want to hide that wire. Give it a little more dimension. And some of these flowers I didn't make as many petals to try to make them a little smaller. This one I kind of want to sit on its side. See if I can do that. I'm not sure I can. Well, that's okay. Now I just want to come down the bottom here and seems like I'm finishing up with all white flowers. So I'm gonna come in with my alcohol marker and give this flower a little bit of color. I want a little bit of contrast. And what I might do is I might come back in with some ribbon, make some ribbon loops, and add some ribbon loops. Yeah, I think that looks much better. I want that little small one there. And then I've got a couple different color markers that I used. I used a real light pink, and then a medium shade, and a really, like a darker shade. So I'm going to come in with my lighter shade. And just hit this one a little bit. think I need another leaf for these little guys to sit on. I did have some paper leaves cut out. I'm not sure if I said that, but then I found these in my flower stash, so I thought I'd use these. And I'm going to put that last little guy right there, I think. I may add a bud or two out the tail end here. I don't have those made. I'd have to cut those, but that's the beauty of making your own project. You can add. Now I had some of these ribbon scraps left over, so I may go in and add some ribbon. I'm not sure. Maybe right around that little bud. The other thing I wanted to do was, if you take some of this wire, now I could color this too. I think I might leave it white and just make some curlicues to tuck in. And what you want to do is to kind of wrap this around something narrow like a paintbrush. So if you take the end of a paintbrush, well, it's almost like a little pig's tail. But you want to make sure you bend in this end. So it looks finished. And like I said, this is really lightweight. You can get this in the craft store. Wire. And then you can just tuck these in. Wherever you want a little extra dimension stuff going on. Look how cute that is. My little rosebud, I'm not crazy about that sticking up that way, so I'm just going to give that a little push. I think I will put some ribbon in there somehow. So again, you just wind this whatever size you want. Take your end and just curl that in as tight as you can. Just looks more finished. You don't have a crazy... Oh, I made that one really crazy. I'm not liking that one. I pushed it a little too far. And then if you're working on a bigger book, or you want, you may like a bigger looking spiral, just use a bigger paintbrush. You really can cut this with scissors. I just grabbed my wire cutters. And then just find a spot to tuck it in. I'm going to tuck it in by that little rosebud. And then if I wanted to make loops, I would just loop my ribbon, just add a little dot of glue, hot glue. You could use liquid glue too, but the hot glue, you don't have to hold it as long. And of course I could twist a wire in there, put a wire in there to tuck it in, but you don't really have to do that.
It's ready.
Just got my dinner call. So I'm going to see how this looks. Well, it's the same color. I could really probably tint this with my alcohol markers, but I think the white looks okay. I want to put in at least 2 more pieces to kind of keep with that idea of using the odd number. I'm just making another little loop. And then I just need to see where I want to put it. Maybe right under there. I'll tuck this one right under that leaf. And then, like I said, I think I am going to come back in with a couple of small buds here. So maybe what I'll do is add a couple of flat pieces. The scissors didn't cut that very nicely. I think I'll add those after I put my buds in and see how that looks, and then I could trim those. That's basically it. With the exception of adding maybe a few more things or some kind of wording to the front of the book, should I find something that I really like, I think we can probably call that finished. That looks pretty. I may want to attach that ribbon with a little bit of movement in it. But I'll see how that looks once I make my other little buds. I think we can pretty much call this project finished. I do have the one page in the back that I need to look at. But I think that'll be it. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. I sure did. I'm pleased with the results. And I hope you will make your own wedding album. See you next time.